At some point, you stop taking those creative risks. You stop trying out new things. You really don't try to solve any problems anymore. You just want to keep creating the things that you see that people have accepted, or you see that people have. Hey guys, it's Fayadi here. I'm an artist and a visual designer, and today we're going to be talking about the number one biggest mistake or most damaging mistake that you should never make as an artist. Now, there are many mistakes that you can make as an artist, but like I said, this is the one of the biggest mistakes that you can ever fall into, and try as much as possible to avoid this. This mistake is going to be tying your self-worth or identifying yourself with the outcome of your artwork, or simply how your artwork is received. So this is something that many of us can fall into at this point, because art is supposed to be a form of self-expression. So if you have an artwork and you feel like it's you expressing a part of your personality, it's you bringing out your mindset and showing this to the world. So there's a lot of vulnerability when it comes to making art. A lot of expectations. You expect that people are going to receive this as beautifully as possible, or as beautifully as you have imagined it in your head, like, oh, I'm bringing out this and everybody should accept it the way they accept the Mona Lisa or something like that. But you have to come to terms with the fact that you are not your artwork. Or this is why this is such a critical problem for any artist to fall into. Number one is that your artwork becomes a burden, or the process of making art becomes a burden for you, because now you're overthinking how people are going to take this artwork. Like I said, there's a lot of vulnerability involved. So even if you're thinking about the content of the artwork, the context of the artwork, you're thinking about the technique you're using, the processes, and also how perfect it's supposed to be. So most times at this point, you become overwhelmed by it, and art becomes more of a burden than a passion for you, because at this point you're thinking of how are we going to receive this. When your personal value depends so much on how people accept your output, which is your artwork or your talent, it's very easy to fall into a point where you see this talent as a burden. So that's number one issue. So number two issue is that you stop taking creative risks. So what makes creativity a thing is the amount of challenges that we can go through, is the amount of problems that we put ourselves into and we are able to solve. So most times when you hit a gold mine when it comes to art, like let me say you create something and you feel like, these people accepted it and probably it goes viral and everybody's talking about this. So yeah, I can imagine it goes viral and everybody's talking about this artwork and like, wow, how did you make this? You tend to fall into that problem of you want to make that again, because you feel like this is what people expect of you and this is what moves the market. So now your artwork is not really a form of expression again, it's more of a commodity that you really don't want to alter in any way. So at some point you stop taking those creative risks, you stop trying out new things, you really don't try to solve any problems anymore. You just want to keep creating the things that you see that people have accepted, or you see that people have appreciated at one point, and then you fall into that trap of making the same thing over and over again. So there's no experimentation, you have to keep experimenting. Number three is the burnout. Now this is almost the same thing as seeing art as a burden, where you feel like at some point you'll be doing this thing over and over again, and you expect that there's this expectation that people have of you. Maybe it's about posting every day, or making out every week, or bringing out every good thing every time. Whatever you do next has to top up what you did the last time, and then you can fall into a problem, because now you feel like it feels like a chore for you. It feels like you have to do this every day, and now you're mentally drained because there is no stop for you. And that's not what it is. Sometimes you do something and you have to fall back to your own safe space in order to recreate something and experiment on other things. Art has to keep being something where you're showing as opposed to you're being forced to expose something. So number three is expecting external validation for your art. So that's based on the likes, the comments, the making art for the algorithm, and this is almost a point where you're no longer self-employed, you're not employed by the world. So you are supposed to make every single person happy, which is not so. So you should not be forced to create for the algorithm, you should not be forced to create for the social media machine. What your artwork is supposed to make you happy and then by default, whatever makes you happy will make a set of people happy, and that's how you create your own niche when it comes to art. So art is not supposed to be a thing about validation. You have to have your own self-worth first before you start making art. You are not supposed to be tied to your artwork. Now let's go to a different thing. What do you do instead of these problems? Instead of tying your self-worth to the artworks you make or to the output or how your artwork is received. Now, number one is create because you are curious. Always create because you feel like there is something that you want to try out. There's something that you want to challenge yourself to do. You've seen something that you feel like, oh, nobody has tried this before. Let me see how this will look when I try it. Even if somebody has tried it before, you should still be curious enough to want to try that out. Almost like a scientist, or almost like this inventor kind of thing, where you're just trying out different formulas and seeing how it works. That should be exactly that. You should be able to speak, you should be able to create, to see the possibilities or limitations of your own self. And when you try to always push that limitation, that is when you create art that makes you happy. Number two is accept that bad art is part of making good art. So when it comes to art creating, there's a lot of this idea that everything that you create has to be this divine, beautiful, artistic thing. But at the same time, you have to go through that process of making those bad art. You have to, like I said, be curious. You have to try out different things, experiment, and most of those experimentations might not come out good. It's almost like this Thomas Edison thing, where you have like, you create a bulb, but there's also 10,000 or 1,000 times that this could have gone wrong. Now you have to make sure that your creation process has to be an experimentation. You have to try different things. You have to try new things, and be open. Like I said, be open to the problems of making bad art. Bad art, a couple of bad art, and learning from those bad arts is what creates good art. Number four is to detach from the result of your artwork, or detach the result of your artwork from your identity. So if you post a work of art online and this artwork doesn't really get any traction, like this happens very often to many people. You take like days working on something, and then you post that and people don't really accept it the way that you expected them to. You feel like, oh, people are going to be wailing and people are going to be shouting and screaming and applauding you, and there's going to be a standing ovation online or something, and then you post this and it's almost unseen. You have to be able to detach yourself from this problem, because it's going to happen very often. And even when you get the validation that you're expecting, even when the algorithm works for you at some point, and you create something and you post it and everybody accepts it, you still tend to have that pressure of creating something that can top that same success that you had at one point. So you really have to be able to detach yourself to where, even if you make success, even if you get 1 million views on one artwork, you should be able to be open to getting 1,000 views and remove your identity from that, not thinking that any of those things are less or more because of what people think about it. It is your expression, it is your idea, it is your experimentation. Be open to however way people accept it, and still choose the best work for you. This is your own work, so you should still be happy with it. Most of my best works, or most of the works I feel most connected to, didn't really get that much traction. It didn't stop being my best work. It didn't stop me from liking those works, but it just made me accept that, oh, people don't really resonate with this work as much as they resonate with this one. But still, it's your work, so be able to do that, and then focus on consistency. You have to build a discipline. Creating art should not be about just your inspiration or something. You have to be consistent with it. You have to come into the work as if it's a job, and then allow the flow state to happen by itself. Enjoy the process. The journey is the destination. That's what I heard recently. So as much as possible, enjoy that process. Enjoy the act of making those things. The art of making art itself, the process of making art itself, can almost be the result for you. That is what is enjoyable, because at some point when somebody says, oh, this is good, you really don't know how to react to that when it's happening, the process of when it's happening. So you have to stay in the present, because if you're going to be looking forward to when people say that your artwork is good, you might be totally underwhelmed when people do that. So enjoy the process of making art. Like being in your own space, make the artwork, experiment, and then when you create something, put that out without identifying yourself with whatever you're putting out, or to the reviews of the artwork that you are putting out. So that said, like I said, I want you to remember that you are a person who makes art. You are not an artwork. Yeah, you're an artwork in the sense of like you're beautiful, I get, but you're not an artwork. You're not the artwork that you're putting out, and you're not the reviews that you're getting from your artwork. Enjoy your art and remove your self-worth from whatever artwork that you're creating. That said, thank you for listening to this one, and I will see you next time. Till then, I'm in for ID. Thanks so much for listening, and peace.